All right, this is gonna be her third lesson in the round pen. So I've already filmed the first 2 lessons. I've got all of her round pen lessons on film, so you can see how she progresses. It might be slightly boring because it's the same thing, but you get to see the progress in real time. So I'm just gonna have her start off here at a walk. I like to start off slow and then build up instead of just sending them out at a canter. I just wanna make sure that they're listening. They can do inside turns before we go super fast. And I like how she's just like circling around me really close there. And then she did a really nice inside turn, so I clicked to her as soon as she comes to make that inside turn, because she struggled with that a lot. She just has a tendency to want to just keep going and not draw in, which is something we're working on. But I do like how she's drawn here. Like, I'm trying to send her off here by just raising my whip up. I'm not going to punish her for not moving off. Like, I like how she's making a tight circle around me, her body's bent, her attention's on me. I really like that. She was just a little sticky with her feet. See, so I'm drawing again, inside turn, very nice, and sending her off. So she's remembered her previous lesson here. That was really good. So she was walking nice and relaxed, so I clicked her for that. After you kind of have the basics done of the sending and then doing the inside turns and the going forward, I like to just start clicking and rewarding for relaxation. So here she was turned the wrong way, so I'm just blocking her. I just want her to go the way that I asked and not the other way. And I don't get after her or chase her, I just make sure she goes the correct way. But I like to just reward, like, they're moving the right way. Like that time she moved into a trot, and I clicked as soon as she went to a trot, because she has the tendency to not want to go forward in this round pen. So I'm clicking that forward motion, and then the relaxation, super important. And with the positive reinforcement, it gives you a great opportunity to be like, hey, you relax, this is perfect, and reward them for it. So that's why one of the reasons I really like it. Okay, so I'm having her trot. So my cues to trot, I say the word trot, I cluck twice, and then I use my whip, and I like to just lift it, and then I start swinging it. I'm getting closer until I can tap them on the hindquarters. So she went into the trot, so I clicked once, or clicked when I went into the trot. So when I ask her to trot, like I do like 2, that's my trot cue. And then if I'm doing like, oh, she's going the wrong way. So I just blocked her with my whip there, kind of got in front of the drive line and had her go the correct way that I asked her in the first place. But when I click to them, I don't use a handheld clicker. I do like that. So they completely are different. They definitely can tell the difference. And they're both unique enough that I don't have any problems. The other one is louder and more distinct, but I've never had an issue with the horse not hearing it, because part of the training is like focus, and they do really well with that. Here she's walking off. I don't really love that. She's very busy-minded. Like, she's not a forward horse, but she's like, I need to be grazing, I need to be do that. And I think some of that is anxiety. So I don't love that she went off there and she trotted up on her own, but I'll take some of the forward though. But anyways, have her do an inside turn, and I'm just gonna change my whip, and then I'm gonna come to the side here without putting too much pressure on her and try and get that inside turn. So my body's open to the left, and I'm just holding it up to the right, and then as soon as she moved her right front leg over, I clicked and rewarded her. Like, yes, that's your step in the right direction. If you wanna like use a handheld clicker, you totally can. It's just a lot to hold. So that's why I do the tongue click. So she had a trouble with the turning in, and then she has trouble with the turn, like once she draws in, like doing turns like that, like she just wants to stare and like look at you in one eye. So that's what we're working on with her today. So there she moved. She did good. She made a turn, but on her own. I'd like her ideally to do an inside turn a bit slower than that, but I will take the inside turn since she's been resistant to that. So that's good draw. See, and then she's hesitant. She wants to look at me in her right eye, and I just come off all the way to the side and just push her over. And then I clicked as soon as she took that step over to her right. So I'm not I'm not chasing her or making her feel bad. I'm just breaking it down into really, really small parts, and then rewarding her when she does each part correctly. So I'll let her hang out and eat her grain real fast, and then I'll send her back out on the circle. So lots of pauses work well too. Like she got the positive reinforcement and then she got a little break. So she got 2 rewards. Okay, so I did get a phone call at that time. So I'm gonna talk about it real fast. So if you have a moment where like your horse does something super awesome and you can like get on your phone and like get on Facebook or whatever for a minute, that is fantastic. So I talked for a few minutes there and she stood there and relaxed. She wandered off and then I just yielded her hindquarters and she stood there and faced me for like a good minute. So that's why I went up there and rewarded her for just hanging out with me. So it's important to give them a break, give them a mental break, like have them digest it a bit. Like you don't always have to rush till the next lesson. So it's good, like after your horse does something awesome, like give them that positive reinforcement and then let them hang out for a minute. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the trot here. So she was trotting nicely, so I'm gonna go reward her. So at first I'm just looking for going forward into the trot, like just trotting. You could be your head way in the air, it doesn't matter. I just want you to trot. Then I'm gonna refine it and I'm gonna work on just getting like a nice rhythmic trot, or like depending on the horse, a forward trot or maybe a slower trot if the horse wants to rush. And then I'll work on like head set. So when the horse's head is lower, I'll click and reward that, and like it just encourages them to repeat that behavior. So that was a better inside turn. I didn't have to go so far off to the side before she'd turn. And then she's working at the trot on like a tighter circle, so I like that she's not on the rail. So I clicked her for that, so she's staying nice and connected with me. And then there she was backing up when I went to go give her her reward. So another thing that I like about it, is that when I click, she knows that what she's doing is good. And then when I go up to her, like it's another desensitizing thing. So I went up kind of fast, she got a little worried, but then she relaxed and then I gave her her grain. So it's just a win-win, like it has another benefit to it. And like some horses, it doesn't bother them to come up to them quickly, but it is a desensitizing thing, especially for her. So we're gonna work on the canter here, and there we go. So I clucked as soon as she got into that canter. So this is an example of just clucking as soon as you get into that gate. Her canter's not pretty. Her head's in the air, she's looking to the outside, she's all over the place, legs flailing, like she's not great. And this is what it's gonna look like in the beginning, because this is a 50-foot round pen, so it's not super small, but and she's not super huge. She's probably like 15 too. But I'm just gonna block her here. I want that inside turn, so I'm all the way to the right and she's backing up, but I have that hold there. So as soon as she moves over, like I release. By coming to the rail like that, I open the door for her to go to her right, and like that's the answer. So I wanna come all the way over to the rail. But her cantering is not beautiful, so that's why I'm just getting her into the canter and rewarding that. So her trot's a bit more forward now. I'm asking her to canter. My stick's starting to swing toward her. There we get into a canter. And I clicked as soon as she got into that canter. And I don't care if they stop. It's not a big deal. They're gonna stop so they can get their reward. But they know the difference. Like you have to have good timing. So I click as soon as she's like cantering, she's like, oh, this is what I need to do again. So she made a good inside turn, but she did it kind of on her own. So ideally I'd like her to do it a good inside turn when I ask, but we'll get all the pieces together. So she trotted off really nice there, so I'm gonna click and reward that. So after I feed them, back up, let them have their space, let them think for a second, and then I send them off and do whatever. I don't stand up there and like pet on them or anything. I'm just like a treat reward method of treat moving. I just go up there, give it to them, and I back up. This is a nice little trot here. She's going around me, so I'm asking her to go there. She went into the canter so much better that time. Like she'd been just long trotting for the last 2 or 3 times. This one, she just kind of moved right into it. So I clicked and rewarded as soon as she got into that canter. So I don't like that she's just wandering off on her own, but she is getting a little hyped up since she's cantering around. She does have a nice bend in her body. She's looking at me, so, and she didn't just run off, I guess. Could be worse. But I would like her to wait a bit more, so I'll work on her doing an inside turn and then standing there and waiting and rewarding that. Good, so that was a nice inside turn. So I cluck as soon as she comes to make that inside turn. So they're gonna kind of step towards you and then their head and neck's gonna bend and come in. That's when I click and reward, as soon as they start making that inside turn. And this is really nice. So I'm on my phone now, and I clicked her while she was standing straight on, like I just said. Like, I want her to learn that this is a good place, because she wants to just either get out of here and do the turn real fast, or she doesn't want to turn inside at all. So I'm just telling her, like, hey, this is perfect. Like, you can stand in the middle and rest and chill. And so that's a good example of when you can just like be on your phone for 5 minutes, but also making sure that the horse is doing the correct thing. Don't let them just wander off and graze. Like, they need to be doing something constructive. And even if that is just resting and hanging out, for her, that she really needs that. So I had her back up and she backed up quite nicely there. So I'm gonna reward her. I'm just waving my whip there and she's backing up. Okay, send her off. So I make a nice big wide turn so she can make that inside turn. Okay, so she is not wanting to turn toward her right, and she's making really quick left-handed turns. She does that every single time. So it makes sense because most horses are easier to bend on the left and stiffer to the right. That seems to be the case for her. So I'm just sending her out. I'm not getting after her if she doesn't want to go forward. I'm just gently asking her to go. So I have my cue to walk is walk, and then I'll raise my whip up, and then I'll not twirl it, but like make a circle with it toward the ground, and I'll smack the ground about 3 times, and then I'll tap him on the top of the hindquarters. So I'm doing other side turn. So this is her toward her left, so she's better. So here she's pausing and coming up to me. This is really nice. So she went to make that turn and then decided not to. That's perfect. So when she came up to me, I clucked her and then go give her her reward. So that was awesome. She went and took that step to the left and then was like, oh wait, and then I kept drawing backwards and she stopped in the turn and came up to me. So that's perfect. See, she's still thinking about leaving here. Her head's turned to the left and she took that step back, but she didn't leave, so that's fantastic. Okay, so she was really good on that turn. So she went walk, trot, canter, did some nice inside turns. So I'm just gonna yield her hindquarters and make sure she's connected with me. So she yielded nicely. I'm just gonna do an arc and then bend at the hips, and then just get her to step over each way. So I want her leg closest to me to step across her leg farthest to me, and do that on each side. And that makes sure she's paying attention, she's bending her body, like right there, she's bending through her body and listening to me. So I'm just making sure she's connected. She doesn't have to follow me here. She came up and started walking toward me, so I clucked and rewarded that, because that's the goal. Like, now she's coming and following me. If your horse is not following you, it's not a huge deal. I would just keep working on it, and then if they start taking one step forward, I would click and reward that. So she came up to me and I clicked and rewarded her for following over, and then I'm just gonna do a little bit of desensitizing and like rub on her a little bit, and she'll be done. So she's a sensitive horse, so doing this like desensitizing by just rubbing on her is what she needs a lot of. So I just keep petting until she shows me a sign of relaxation, which is usually blinking her eye. So she's got like her head kind of tilted away, so I'm just waiting for her to blink her eye, and then I can't tell if she did, but I'm sure she did, and then I'll end it on that note.